2 days ago, I posted that the Albanese government, since coming to office, had increased the cost of Australian passports 22.5%. Well, I was wrong. That number is a mistake. The increase since Albanese has come to government for an Australian passport is actually up 33.8%. A massive increase. If you look at the numbers, going back to the 1st of January 2023, the Albanese government jacked the cost of passports up from $308 by $17 to $325. The 1st of January 2024, they went from $325, an increase of another $21 to $346. The 1st of July last year, they jacked them up $52, up to $398. And now at the 1st of January, they're putting them up again, a further $14 up to $412. So that's a $104 increase over just over a two-year period under the Albanese government, a total increase of 33.8%. Now, interestingly, that $104 increase that Albanese has increased the price of Australian passports is more than many countries actually charge for their passport. If you have a look at some of the overseas comparisons, we see in places like, for example, a good example is Singapore. Now, Singapore charge $80, the equivalent of 80 Australian dollars for a passport. And yet here in Australia, Albanese's put the cost of Australian passports up by $104 over the last 2 years. Sweden, the equivalent a passport over there is the equivalent of 60 Australian dollars. And Spain, the equivalent is 50 Australian dollars. And yet Albanese has put the cost of passports up here $104 to $412. That makes the cost of a passport the highest in the world. No other citizen anywhere in the world pays anything remotely like that $412. It is completely out of alignment with the cost of a passport. Now, the policy should be, we should encourage Australians, we should be as free as we can to travel overseas. A government should not be putting financial burdens and hurdles, unnecessary hurdles, in our way. So the cost of a passport should be no more than the cost that what it does to produce, not 1 cent more. That should be the policy of all parties going to the next election, but we know it won't be certainly for the Labor Party. We know the Liberal Party don't want to give up that revenue because they want to continue with wasteful spending. But that's the policy we need to take to this next election, reduce the cost of the passports. Now, if Spain and Singapore and Sweden and all these other countries can supply their citizens with a passport for less than 100 Australian dollars, Australia should be able to do exactly the same. Australian passports should be reduced to the cost that they are to produce. It should not be a revenue and taxation raising mechanism for the government. It should simply be the cost that they are to produce, and that should be less than $100. That's a policy that we need to be taking to the next election.